You ever hit a financial milestone and feel absolutely no different, like you thought making $100,000 a year would fix everything, but somehow you still feel tight on money? You still check your account before small purchases. You still catch yourself wondering where did it all go, and that doesn't really make sense unless something else is going on beneath the surface. Let's say you're around 28. You're doing well, you worked your way up to a solid income, maybe 80, 90, even 100,000 a year. From the outside, it looks like you've made it. You've got a clean place, a decent car, you can afford to go out without stressing too much. But behind the scenes, your money still feels temporary. It comes in and then it just leaves. Not in a reckless way, not in a careless way, just consistently, like no matter how much you earn, it never really stays. And what most people don't notice is this quiet shift that happens when income goes up. Your definition of normal starts to change. Slowly, almost invisibly. A cheaper apartment becomes a nicer one. A used car turns into a lease. Eating out goes from something occasional to something casual. Nothing feels extreme in the moment. Every decision feels earned, justified. You're not trying to be flashy, you're just living at your level. That's what it feels like, and in your head it sounds completely reasonable. You tell yourself, I worked for this. This is my level now, I'm not even overspending. And that right there is the part that keeps people stuck because it doesn't feel like a mistake. It feels like progress. Now fast forward a few years. You've been earning well for a while. And one random day, maybe you're sitting alone, maybe you just paid your bills, maybe you open your banking app without thinking too much about it, and something feels off. You expected to be further ahead by now. Not rich, not financially perfect, just ahead. But instead, you realize that if your income stopped today, this whole setup wouldn't last very long. And that realization is quiet, but it hits hard, because the issue was never really about how much you earned. It was about what happened every time your income increased. Your lifestyle grew at the exact same speed. So nothing ever built up in the background, no real gap, no space for money to accumulate. Everything that came in went right back out, just in slightly nicer ways over time. If you actually break the numbers down, it becomes even clearer. $100,000 a year sounds like a lot, but after taxes, you're probably working with something closer to 70. That's about $5,800 a month. And then you start subtracting. Rent takes a big chunk. Your car and insurance take another. Food, eating out, subscriptions, random spending, it adds up fast. Before you even realize it, most of your income is already spoken for. And what's left isn't as much as you expected. Then life happens on top of that. Travel, emergencies, unplanned expenses. So even at a level that's supposed to feel comfortable, you're still operating with very little margin. And that's why it feels tight. Not because you're doing something obviously wrong, but because everything is slightly stretched. You're living right at the edge of your income, just in a more expensive version of it. Now this is where self-made millionaires tend to think differently. When their income increases, they don't rush to upgrade everything at once. They slow it down, on purpose. Not because they don't want a better life, but because they understand something most people overlook. The real power isn't in how much you make. It's in the gap between what you make and what you spend. That gap is where everything starts to change. That's where investments come from. That's where flexibility comes from. That's where options start to appear, and most importantly, that's where pressure begins to decrease. If you look at two people earning the same income, the difference becomes obvious over time. One upgrades quickly. Better place, better car, more lifestyle. Nothing extreme, just consistent upgrades. The other person upgrades more selectively. They still enjoy their money, but they don't let every increase turn into a permanent expense. Maybe they improve one part of their life but hold steady in others. From the outside, they don't look that different. But financially, they're moving in completely different directions. Fast forward 5 or 10 years and the gap becomes real. One person looks successful but still depends on every paycheck. The other has quietly built something in the background. Investments, savings, a level of flexibility that reduces stress in ways you can't really see from the outside. Same income, different outcome. And this is the part people don't usually say out loud. It's not really about becoming rich, it's about becoming less dependent. Because when every dollar you earn is already committed, you don't have much control. You have to keep going. You have to maintain everything you've built around your lifestyle. And that pressure adds up over time. So the shift isn't about cutting everything out or living extremely below your means. That's not realistic and it's not sustainable for most people. The real shift is quieter. You just stop upgrading everything all at once. You become a little more intentional. You let your income grow slightly faster than your lifestyle, not dramatically, just enough to create space. And over time, that space turns into something meaningful. It gives you room to breathe. It gives you options. It changes the way you think about money, not in a dramatic way, but in a steady, controlled way that actually lasts. Hit subscribe for weekly money mindset breakdowns.